All right. Well, welcome to this workshop offered by the University of Kentucky and the Office of Work Life. We are offering this workshop to our working parents that are interested in learning more about the college funding process and experience. Today, we have some guest speakers with us that's going to talk to various aspects of this journey. One of the things we know when it comes to college funding is that it is definitely one of the most expensive aspects of raising a child. And so that's something we are just really mindful of, and we wanted to just give you information to help you prepare for that particular part of your journey. So our speakers today, we have the UK Student Financial Aid and Scholarship Office. We have Jennifer Belcher. She is the outreach coordinator. And then we have Bryan Erslan, who is the Executive Director of Student Financial Aid and Scholarships. And then we have Breven Walker, who is the program administrator for the UK Tuition Assistance Program. And we also have Joseph Wilcox, who is the program administrator for the KY Saves 529 program. And then I'm Azetta Beatty. I'm the Work-Life Benefits Manager here at the University of Kentucky. Let's get started. We're going to start off with our student financial aid and scholarships.
Well, good afternoon again, and welcome. We are so happy that you are here today to learn more about the process of financing your college education, especially as it relates to the financial aid and scholarship side of the house. So again, my name is Jennifer Belcher, and I'm going to be just providing a general overview of the financial aid process and other helpful information to help you navigate this process. So this is our homepage on the website. It is the link at the top will take you directly to that page. So I know you're going to get this. It's in recording, but definitely may want to jot that down just so you can get there very quickly. And there's a ton of great information that's located here. We are open Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30. We are housed in the Funkhauser building. So if you are on campus and want to take a walk over sometime to meet with us in person, please do so. We have counselors available during that time to meet and answer questions. So we have some things highlighted at the top. You may have some questions about how do I apply for financial aid. Under that, there's some information with FAFSA help and how to navigate that process. The cost information has some great information regarding tuition and fees, keeping in mind that the upcoming academic year isn't finalized until June when the Board of Trustees meet. So right now, if you're looking at that information, it's going to show that 25-26 tuition and fee amount, but it is a great tool to help with estimating what those costs look like, as well as what those estimated expenses may be once everything is applied. And then Bryan's going to go over a little bit more of the scholarship side of the house, but the information that he goes over today is all housed on our website and really easy, accessible, a lot of great FAQs for help. We also, under the directory tab, this is a great tool so that students and parents alike can schedule an appointment to meet with our office and speak with a financial aid counselor. We offer a few different modalities for that. We do offer Teams meeting to do virtually, a phone appointment, or if you want to schedule an appointment to be here in person, you're welcome to do so. Again, scheduling an appointment is not required. We do take walk-ins. We will answer the main line and get you connected with a counselor if you have questions for that. It will also allow you to connect and see who your student's assigned financial aid counselor is. This information is also going to be available in the student's portal once they are accepted. But again, if there is an appointment time that works best with any of the counseling staff that's available, please make sure you schedule a time that works best for you. We understand that everyone has a busy schedule, and we want to make sure that we're answering those questions in a timely manner that works for you. All right, so welcome to the game plan for financial aid. This graphic we have found to be very helpful for families as they start the planning process for financial aid, kind of what do I need to be doing? What are my next steps? along this process. Sometimes we affectionately joke in the office that financial aid can be a bit of a hurry up and wait process. Your student applies for admission August 1, and then we hurried up to do that, and now maybe it's a waiting process to get the scholarship notification, and then when does the financial aid notification come out, because that's a little delayed as well. So this we found kind of helps families understand that, okay, we're kind of in that lull of this is what we've done, this is what the next step should be, and it kind of helps with that. So I would encourage you to not only look at what the months are showing now, but also go ahead and just take a look at that graphic holistically, and start to look at the other stops along the way as we work our way toward August for that given academic year. I know that some of these steps, such as applying for loans, don't happen until the summer, but you may want to go ahead and start reviewing what is a Parent Plus loan? What is my student eligible for in the way of their student loans? What is an alt loan? Which is going to be the better option for our family now and for the student as you look forward to the day that repayment has to happen. So of course we can't predict the future, but just trying to make sure that you're understanding the best scenarios and making those informed decisions now. And then again, just kind of refreshing, what should we be doing along the way? All right, so kind of getting into that specific financial aid information. The first step for financial aid is, as our office, we always encourage families to complete the FAFSA. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. And even if a family does not think that their student will qualify for financial aid based on household income, we still encourage families to complete that for many different reasons. You may think one thing, but based on that information, FAFSA may say that you're eligible for something different. And had you not have completed that, we would have never known. And also, too, not necessarily UK scholarships, but there may be some external scholarships or scholarships along the way that could potentially require the FAFSA. So different schools can have different criteria for eligibility. So that would be a reason to go ahead and just kind of blanketly take care of that. The FAFSA opens every October 1st for the upcoming academic school year. So on October 1st of 2025, that opened for the 26-27 academic school year. So for those students who will be starting with us in the fall. Students can list up to 20 institutions on the FAFSA. So we would love every student who applies to UK, and especially if you're a staff or faculty here for your student, to join us. But sometimes that's not always the case when you sit down and look at the financial aid offer. But 20 schools can be listed. Encourage your student to include any of the schools that they are applying to or thinking of applying to, so that they have that data and can put that together once they start that process, whether it's the student has to be admitted and have a valid FAFSA on file, they have that information and can work to get those aid notifications out. Also, one thing to remember is it is filed each academic year, and for the high school students coming into the fall semesters, make sure when you're setting up the FSA ID and password that you are not using your high school email. Eventually that will turn off. It can be corrected on the Department of Ed side, but it does take a while for that to happen. So go ahead, if you don't have a Gmail or YMail or whatever it is that we're using these days established, now's a good time for that. Also, too, you want to make sure that the parent of record and the student each have their own FSA ID and password. So that's why it's really important that the student have their own email address so that it is specific to them. Oftentimes we will see where parents may use two different emails, their email, and then they use their email for the student. Sometimes that can make things messy along the way. So it's really great if we can kind of differentiate those two. Once the FAFSA is completed, what you're completing that for is the financial information that you're providing helps to determine the student aid index, or that SAI. And that number is what colleges use to determine the student's eligibility for federal, state, and institutional funding, and the way that that number works out. More specifically, from a federal standpoint, that SAI is used to determine a student's need-based eligibility. So you hear of the Pell Grant, that is for students who qualified based on the FAFSA because their SAI was significantly lower, which means they have a higher financial need based on the data that was collected from the FAFSA. For our in-state students, that also looks at eligibility for CAP grant, which is the need-based fund from KIA, from Lotto funds, and students who qualify for Pell are eligible for the CAP grant. Also, all students who complete the FAFSA are eligible for federal student loans. And we understand that student loans are the least favorable part of the conversation that we have regarding financial aid. But the Department of Education still says that it is financial aid and it is a form of funding to help pay for school. So when a student completes the FAFSA, they are automatically eligible for $5,500 in student loans in their name. Those loans are deferred as long as the student is enrolled at least half time, which is 6 credit hours. And then depending on the results of the FAFSA, that loan, you may have heard the term a subsidized loan and an unsubsidized loan. How that amount is split is determined upon the FAFSA. And that subsidized loan does not accrue interest while the student is in school. The unsubsidized portion will start to accrue interest once it's dispersed. For some students, based on their FAFSA data and other financial aid that they're receiving, that loan may all be in that $5,500 offer of the unsubsidized funding. All right, and just a little recap for me about the different types of financial aid that students can receive to help pay for school. So again, that grant funding is typically dependent upon completing the FAFSA and the student demonstrating eligibility for need-based aid. So again, remember, the lower the SAI, the higher need for financial assistance with that. And because it is based on the FAFSA data, unfortunately, not all students will receive a Pell Grant or that CAP grant funding. There is not a specific deadline for us. I know some institutions may notify a student that they have to have it done, by January or February, but we do encourage students to get that completed as soon as possible because some funding, such as the CAP grant, it is awarded on a first come, first served basis for students who are eligible for Pell, and that funding can be exhausted. So we just got an email earlier this week that the CAP grant for the 25-26 academic year has exhausted. So don't encourage, to wait till almost the following year to complete the FAFSA, but that's kind of where we are. And because a record number of students based on FAFSA simplification are receiving more Pell Grant funding, we're anticipating that those funds for CAP could exhaust much sooner for the upcoming academic years. So just something to keep in mind with that, getting that completed. That doesn't mean you need to wait up till 12/01 on October 1st to get the FAFSA completed, though. So again, those scholarships, Bryan's going to go over a little bit more of that information as it pertains to UK. But for us, that is funding that comes directly from the institution in the form of the academic or competitive scholarships and departmental scholarships that we offer. And it also includes the KEYS scholarship that your student is earning in high school, just having good grades and depending on how they do on their standardized tests. And that information can be monitored at kia.com. I know they do a great job of communicating with families. And it can also be any external scholarships. So those scholarships outside of UK, whether it's the platform that we use to help students locate those, or as those incoming freshmen into their fall year, those opportunities through the high school from the local community. So definitely applying for any and all of those external scholarships, even if they're 1 year and only a couple of $100s, those can add up and definitely alleviate the burden of what may be due out of pocket for the first year at least. And then again, just to recap, the student loans are a part of financial aid. It does require the FAFSA to be completed for eligibility. All freshmen are eligible for a total of $5,500, and that is loans in their name. And they do require repayment. So that is 6 months after graduation, or if enrollment drops below longer than 6 months, if maybe they've taken a break for whatever reason. Loans also include the Parent Plus loan and alternative loans. So Parent Plus loan does require the FAFSA. That is part of the application process. Then it is a separate application on studentaid.gov. And then for the alternative loans, it is not a requirement to file the FAFSA. So we have some families who, based on their research, found that alternative loans are going to be the best option for them. So that is the route that they go. Again, it doesn't require the FAFSA. And I'm going to go ahead now and turn it over to Bryan so he can go over our scholarship portion.
Thanks, Jennifer. Good afternoon. I will echo what Jennifer said about the FAFSA and getting that filed. I think it's very important. It's a big part of the financial aid process, but I'm going to spend a little time talking about our UK scholarship process and what that looks like for students and such. And it starts with the admissions application, really. So their senior year, when they're applying for admission, that's the one application they need to be considered for scholarships. I'm going to talk about some of our academic I'm just going to talk about the different categories, but and I would encourage you to go to our website. Now, if you go to our website, you're going to see a number of different scholarships there. That is for students entering in the fall of 2026. Okay, we update this website every summer. So for come next summer in August, we'll be updating it for the students starting a year from now, a year from then in 2027. So so things change. I want you to know that. Okay, these are the scholarships that we have available right now for students entering in the fall of 2026. So it's very important. So we start with, I said admissions application. It's based on the student's high school GPA. We have a test optional criteria. If they don't take a standardized test, they don't have to provide that information. It's just strictly based on GPA. So we have some academic scholarships that are strictly based on that. For instance, Kentucky residents can qualify for the Provost Scholarship. And if you look at our website, it starts at a 3.5 for test optional, 3.5 GPA. And if you do take tests, you can look at it, it goes a little bit lower to a 3.30 and a 26 on the ACT or 1230 on the SAT to be qualifying for that. That's an automatic scholarship, renewable, as long as they maintain a 3.0 GPA. Academic scholarship, the other Provost Scholarship is again test optional. It's 3.75. If they take the test, ACT or SAT, it's 28 ACT or 1,300 on the SAT, and that's $5,000. Okay, those are our general Kentucky resident scholarships. We also have non-resident scholarships, again based on similar criteria, and you can see all that listed on our website. We also have competitive scholarships, and what that entails, there's a part of the admissions application that requires students to complete the competitive scholarship section. Okay, if they want to be considered for those. And they need to make sure they're including that if they want to be considered for competitive scholarships. The minimum to be considered for competitive scholarships would be a 3.5 and a 31 on the ACT or a 1390 on the SAT to be considered for any kind of selective scholarships. Now, of those students that would be considered for selective scholarships, that goes through. There's many readers that look at the information, and these students are just so extremely. It's such a competitive process, and a limited number of those that are competing for the competitive scholarships would be invited to campus for interviews. Usually, those are held typically in February. So for the students starting in fall of 26. It'll be February of 2026 that those will start and everything. So that's the other piece with regards to our process there. When the student is filling out their admission application, they want to be as thorough as they can, and providing information about themselves and everything. So please make sure they're taking the time when they're filling their admission application, and especially if they want to be considered for those competitive scholarships, they complete that specific section of the competitive scholarship portion there. So those are and then we also have some selective scholarships as well with regards to the Kentucky Governor Scholars. You can see Provost Scholar, the Kentucky Governor Scholar Provost, and then Kentucky. Those are selective programs. You can see those as well. And now I will say with this, Students can only receive one scholarship from these listed, okay? So if they were to receive a higher, let's say they were received one of the standard scholarships, say the 2,500, they received that, but then maybe they received a higher award at some point. They received that higher award, but they don't get that in addition to the initial scholarship they received. That's real important. They can only get one scholarship through that process. So that's very important there. Current, and I'll also speak, well, I'll talk about other pieces when I get into the current undergraduate students. I'll talk about that process in a minute. But for transfer students, I do want to mention that as well. We do have transfer scholarships. That deadline's, oh, let me go back to sorry, I forgot one thing I wanted to mention with regards to first year scholarships. The deadline to apply for scholarships is prior to December 1st. Now, we always encourage students to apply for admission earlier than that if they can, okay? Because there have been years where we've run out of funds before December 1st, and so it's based on their admission date, and we can only award until the funds are exhausted and such. So it's real important that students apply for admission early and through that process and everything. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that deadline, but that's a December 1st deadline for that. But again, if students are thinking about maybe getting their ACT score up higher and things like that, go ahead and apply for admission earlier, and then we'll accept any additions to the scores through December 1st, up until that point. So it's real important for students to get that admission application done early when being considered for scholarships. Now on to transfer scholarships. If you have a student maybe already in college somewhere and they want to transfer to UK, we do have some automatic scholarships where if they have if they're a Kentucky resident, they have a 3.0 or higher, they could possibly qualify for the Wildcat Blue, which is a $1,500 scholarship. And then we have the Distinguished Transfer Scholarship Program for a 3.5 or higher, and that's $3,000. And we also have some programs for out-of-state students as well. But that deadline is much different for transfer students. It's June 15th of 2026 for this current academic year. Again, please refer to our website, that UK scholarship website. I can't stress that enough, and things do change annually as we look at these scholarships. I'm going to go to the next, and so let's go to the next slide here. So the other piece I want to talk about is there's all kinds of different scholarships to be considered, and for instance, departmental scholarships throughout campus, through our colleges, as well as departments. And Scholarship Universe is a application that we use for many of the college scholarships as well as the departmental. So, and that's on our website here. You can find that. As soon as a student is an admitted student, they can fill out an application for Scholarship Universe. And this is just a little dashboard. If you look at this, and this particular student filled out information, and it showed that you see the scholarships you qualify for. It's got a number one there, and it looks like there are pillars there, columns. Those are going to be institutional awards, okay? So if a student qualified for an institutional award that they want to apply for, they would want to look at that. The globe there next is for outside scholarships that they might qualify for. So Scholarship Universe is really an engine, not just for UK scholarships, but for scholarships around the world. And we encourage students to start that process after they're admitted. I'd encourage them to spend maybe 30 to 45 minutes completing the Scholarship Universe application. And it'll match them again to scholarships that they may be eligible for. It may require them to complete an additional scholarship application, but make sure once they're an admitted student at UK that they go and complete the Scholarship Universe application. And I would encourage them to check their Scholarship Universe account periodically, because more scholarships could be matching to them, at a later date. So that's real important as well. But that's a great way to look for colleges, the college scholarships as well as departmentals. Also on our website, we have a listing of all the colleges and departments and their websites, contact information. So if you want to reach out to a specific college, you can do that as well, looking at that piece as well. So that's important information there. The other thing I would mention before, and it's not on our slides, and before I go over these four areas here, is for external scholarships and really local scholarships. So if you've got a student in high school that's going to be a senior, make sure they're applying for local scholarships through the high school. there are a number of scholarships that high schools award every year. And I know um, the advising areas, advising offices at the high schools will encourage students to apply. Make sure they're applying for those scholarships because I hear sometimes from folks in the high schools that, gosh, we can't get students to apply. So make sure they're applying for those local scholarships. And then, the scholarship universe piece, that'll get you some external scholarships, like I said, across the country and the world, really, and everything. So financial aid at a glance, I just wanted to go through the process is really completing the application for admission. Number one, that's primary, as well as the FAFSA when it comes available in October. If the student is applying or wanting to look at academic scholarships, make sure they get that admission application completed prior to December 1st, if not sooner. Because like I said, we want to try to award up to that point, but if funds are exhausted, we'll have to stop sooner. So the sooner they're admitted, the better. I mentioned the FAFSA. It is October 1st this year. And Jennifer mentioned earlier that it's like a hurry up and wait. You fill the FAFSA form out in October. And our actual notification says what we like to do is we like to have all the scholarships, most of them we can determine, and we start to send the financial aid notifications early in March, and that's going to include any scholarships that the student receives, as well as any need-based eligibility that they may qualify for through the FAFSA form. And so that's very important. That's when it'll start coming out. So I know you have to wait a little bit to get that information, but we try to get those out as soon as we can. But we want to make sure, like for instance, I mentioned the competitive scholarship program that doesn't occur until February. So we want to make sure we get all those awards in the best we can before we send those financial aid notifications early in March. I want to know that our office is here to help you finance education. We can't always say yes. We're not going to be able to always say, yeah, here we can give you this. But we're going to find the best option for you in financial aid, be it scholarships and grants. It may include loans. Working on campus, that's another area that we didn't touch on, but there are jobs that are federal work study eligible if you qualify for need and everything. So please reach out to our office if you have questions at all about the financial aid or scholarships or anything like that. Please reach out to us. There's our contact information, and I'm sure we'll have that at the end as well. So thank you for being here. We just go Cats.
All right. Hey guys, my name is Breven Walker. Thank y'all for being here. I'm the tuition assistance administrator. Today we're going to talk about FEP. So FEP is a really awesome benefit for University of Kentucky employees. So basically what it does is it gives a child of a University of Kentucky employee or spouse certain percentage of tuition cut off. Cut off, that's a weird way of saying it, discounted. So we also have something called EEP. That's for employees to be able to utilize themselves. But today we're going to talk about FEP. So if you have any questions about EEP, you can talk to me about that after the presentation. So the process to participate, it's really simple. You just got to make sure you apply for the school just like you would, like any other student would. You got to register for classes, make sure you're enrolled. One issue we have is people filling out a waiver but not being enrolled in their classes or being administered. Some employees had the perception that they just got to take the class, but no, you have to make sure you've done the same process that a normal student would have taken for EEP or FEP. And then lastly, you would submit your waiver. Waiver is really easy. The University of Kentucky employee and the student or spouse would fill out the waiver together, and then you would turn it into our department. We would process that for you, and then be good to go. For more details, there's the website link. But yeah, hold on, we have a question here. If we have time. So FEP is not considered taxable income. That's only EEP. If you're taking a graduate course for yourself, you will get taxed over $5,250. But since we're talking about FEP right now, that doesn't apply here. So When you're using FEP, keep in mind you can't use that when you're also using EEP. We do eligibility checks, and sometimes people get confused that their money got taken away, and it's because you cannot utilize our family benefit and the employee benefit at the same time. So if you have a child that's in school and you also plan on being in school, make sure you coordinate with your family member or spouse what semesters you guys want to utilize EEP or FEP. Also, do keep in mind that for UK undergraduate courses, the only thing you can utilize FEP with. For EEP, you can use that for graduate courses, and like I just mentioned, that's where you get into the taxable situation. But for undergraduate courses, you don't have to worry about tax, and FEP is only for undergraduate courses. So if your child or spouse is looking to get an undergraduate degree, perfectly fine. But for graduate degrees, can't do that. Also, have to be in good academic standing. Make sure whoever's utilizing the FEP benefit has a 2.0 GPA or higher. Also, this is a really cool benefit of EEP, FEP, and something my family actually used with me when I went to UK about a decade ago. So, if you've been at UK for 5+ years, you get 50% off. If you have two parents who have had been at UK for 5+ years, you can combine that 50% discount, and your child can go to school for 100% tuition free. That's pretty awesome. You ask me. I tell people if you're gonna find you somebody, find you someone that works at UK because you can't beat that. All right. Like I said, it can be used for a spouse or a child. And I've had questions where people have wondered, what if it's my stepchild? What if I'm a foster parent or whatever? So if it's your biological child, all you need is a birth certificate with your name on it, of course. If it's your stepchild, we'll need three things. We'll need a birth certificate. We'll need a marriage license to the biological parent, make sure you're married to them. And also, we'll need a 1040 tax form to make sure that they have been listed as a dependent for you. If they're a foster, we would need the same things I just mentioned, but we would also need papers just making sure that you have guardianship over the person. Study abroad, you can utilize FEP with study abroad. It can be a little iffy sometimes because it just depends on how the study abroad is being itemized on the tuition bill. If it's utilized as a special course fee, we can't cover that. But if it's just listed as tuition, that's something we can do. But if you want to talk more about study abroad, stay after. You can ask me some questions about that. And lastly, for eligibility, if you have a student, if you have a child who is in utilizing FEP and you decide to retire, if they're utilizing it right then and there, but you retire, then they'll get that for the whole 4 years or whatever till they graduate. However, if you decide to retire before they start school, then unfortunately they won't be eligible. So just make sure if you do have plans of retiring or your spouse had plans of retiring and you guys want to combine the FEP benefit, make sure that you guys are coordinating when you're going to do that. Because, like I said, if you do that before they start school, then you won't qualify for it, or they won't qualify for it. All right, so the education program discount. So this is pretty straightforward. So less than a year, unfortunately, you don't get any discount. You don't get a discount until you've worked at the University of Kentucky for 1 year. So 1 to 2 year, 10%, 2 to 3, 20%, 3 to 4, 30%, et cetera, et cetera. One thing, this all goes up to 50%, but one thing I did want to talk about was make sure that your date of hire, your anniversary, is before the last day to add classes. Like for example, this past year, the last day to add classes was August 29th, and that's our deadline for FEP and EEP papers. Um, excuse me. So if you turn that in, say on September 1st, we had someone who turned it on September 3rd, because that was their anniversary. So they're looking to get 20% instead of the 10%. Unfortunately, we can't give them that 20% until the next semester. So if you are utilizing that, make sure you understand that your work anniversary has to be before the last day to add a class. Because if it's after that, then we won't be able to give you that extra bump until the next semester. All right. So one thing, make sure if you are utilizing FEP that your waiver is being submitted each semester. Some people have the idea that they only need to turn in a waiver once, which is not true. We need your waiver every single semester, or unfortunately, you won't be able to get your child or your spouse won't be able to get the aid that they're due. I mentioned this earlier. Forms are due the last day to add class. Usually that's the first Friday of the first full week of school. So just make sure you're on top of that. And also before we would accept waivers throughout the entire semester. You'll get a late fee if you didn't turn it in by the last day to add a class. However, going into spring 2026, we're not accepting any waivers past that. So if you've heard from someone in the past that's utilized FEP, oh, don't worry, you can turn it in by the last day of classes in general in May. That's not how it works anymore. Make sure you're getting those papers turned in the last day to add a class, which, like I said, is usually the first Friday of the first full week of school. If your child has any changes going on in classes, like their amount of credit hours has went up or they're dropping a class, anything like that, we need to have an amended form for our record. Um, it's easy, literally just there's a check mark that says amended on top of the waiver. You just hit that and you fill out the waiver again, just like you did. Make sure you're signing it, make sure your spouse or child is signing it, and we'll have that for our records and we'll be able to update that on our end. And like I just mentioned, the deadline, last day to add classes is the last day to submit a waiver is the last day to add a class. And we have one question. Let me read it real quick. One quick question. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I'm a slow reader. But for questions or needs, any concerns, or to submit your waiver, make sure you're emailing that to me at edubenefit@uky.edu. Or if you have something more in depth that you want to get with me, email me at breven.walker@uky.edu. I'm the same person responding to emails on the EDU benefit, so whichever one you contact, I'm still going to be the guy you're talking to. So yeah, do keep in mind that. And like I said, when you're submitting your waiver, send that to edu benefits at uky.edu. You can fax it, or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, you can bring it in person at the Bosworth Hall location. And the address is right there, 631 South Limestone here in Lexington. And yeah, thank you guys for being here, and it's FEP for you.
Hello, my name is Joe Wilcox, and I'm the field representative for Kentucky Saves 529. So, Kentucky Saves is basically a way to save money for a child's education. Our plan has been around since 1990. So, we were actually one of the first states to offer a plan like this to start helping our parents save for their children's education. So, basically, in a nutshell, Kentucky Saves 529 is like an investment account for education. So, ideally, you're opening these accounts when your children are young. If you could start even when your children are born, that's the best time to save. Start saving a little bit over time. It's not as hard on the pocketbook that way. I know we had from the original questionnaire to start this program today, we had some parents of students that were in high school, middle school, and elementary school. Um, you can use the 529 no matter your child's age. Um, so if you are getting a late start, if your child's in middle school or even high school, we have different investment portfolios that are that can work for you no matter what age your child is. But the sooner you start saving, the better. Just like with any savings program, you're saving for something. The more time you give yourself, the better off you're going to be. So the way a 529 plan works, it's an after-tax contribution. But once your money is in the account, it grows tax deferred. So you don't have to report your earnings every year. You have investments to choose from. And as long as you use your savings to pay for education expenses, you don't pay any taxes at all on your earnings. And one nice thing about our 529 that you can't get with any other 529 is any savings you have in your KY Saves account will not be counted against need-based student financial aid for any school in the state of Kentucky. So that could potentially help you get a little bit more financial aid. You can use this savings account to pay for a wide range of expenses. It's not just for tuition. You can use it for housing, books, computers, supplies, meal plans, off-campus housing. Some people today said they're not quite sure where their children were going to school. So you can use your 529 plan in all 50 states. Obviously, Kentucky, you can use your plan at Kentucky. KY Saves 529 is also an employee benefit for employees of the University of Kentucky. So there's a lot of information on the HR website about our plan. And who knows what your child is going to grow up and want to do. Maybe they decide, they might not even want to go to college. You can use 529 to pay for other things like community college, trade school, vocational school, even qualified credential programs. So it's pretty flexible on how you can use the money. One of the biggest questions we get around 529s is, what if I put money into one and then my child doesn't go to school? So you can always take the money back at any time and use it for whatever you want. The money that goes into this account, it's yours. You have access to it at any time. The savings never expire. So maybe you put money into the account and your child's not sure what they want to do. You can just leave it sit there. And if they change their mind down the road, they can use it. You can change the beneficiary. So if you have two children you're saving for example, and one decides to go to college and the other's not going to, you can just change the beneficiary to the child that is going to go to college. Rolling over to a Roth IRA is another option. So like I said, the biggest question we get around 529s is what if my child doesn't go to school? But I can tell you that about 97% of all of our withdrawals are used to pay for education expenses. So we hardly ever get families that put money into a 529 and then just kind of get stuck. Their kid doesn't go to school, or they don't find a way to use the savings. It doesn't really happen that often. Most of the time, our families are finding education expenses that they can use to pay for with their 529 account. So one other thing I wanted to mention, Kentucky Saves 529 is also a part of KIA. We're one of the many programs that KIA manages. Everyone here is probably familiar with the KEYS money, the grant that your children earn during their high school years. They also manage the Kentucky Saves 529 program. And they also have a team of financial aid counselors, outreach counselors that you have access to. There's about 13 different counselors. They cover different regions around the state. So if you go to the kheaa.com website, you'll be able to look up the counselor that's in your region and schedule an appointment with them. And, they're really good about finding those local scholarships and those state scholarships and things like that. So, check out the kheaa.com website and get in touch with the counselor that's in your region. If you wanted to open an account with us, our website is ky529.com. If you wanted more information about the program, or if you want to sign up for a webinar, if you're interested and you want to learn more, I offer webinars about a couple of times a week every month. So you can sign up for a webinar, and I'll be happy to tell you more about how 529 plan works, how to open an account, and things like that. But it's very easy to set up these accounts and manage them. So that's about all I had, unless anybody has any questions.
All right. Thank you so much, speakers. You guys have been fantastic. I'm going to very quickly offer a quick summary of some of the resources that we offer to our working parents here at the university to offer you a kind of well-rounded support. So although we are primarily focusing on the college funding piece today, just want to mention that we do have a variety of resources to support you on your entire parenting journey. So we have a working parents network. So that's a way that you can connect with other parents and you can ask all types of questions. You can ask questions about college or teens or, little bitty ones or what have you. It's a great space just to connect. And via that platform, via the Teams and Facebook, we also make sure we advertise all of our upcoming workshops and events and activities. So if you're looking for a place to kind of stay aware of what's happening and have it come to you, that's a great option for you. We also offer a program called Big Blue Family Care, which is child and pet care referral services. So if you're looking for a part-time sitter, occasional sitter, or a break sitter, or what have you, or even pet care, you can submit a request via our form on the website, and then we'll be happy to connect you with UK student or a sitter job. We also have other parenting related information such as lactation and breastfeeding support, information about upcoming resource fairs, summer camp fairs, all kinds of online resources. And then we do offer a workshop every month on the second Tuesday of the month at noon, and they're always virtual, so very convenient. And then we also offer a parents real talk session on the third Wednesday at 8:30, just for 30 minutes. And that's also a good option just to informal, have a conversation with another parent. And wanted to point out, hopefully everyone is aware that we do have 4 weeks of paid parental leave. So if you're a parent that's in the expected or maybe want to have a few more children or another child, just know that we do have that paid parental leave for 4 weeks. Also, I want to mention the elder care caregiving side of things because we know that we do have a lot of parents that are finding themselves in that sandwich generation where they are providing care for their children, but they might also be supporting an aging loved one. And so, because you're maybe in that middle role there, you need support with your children and you need support with supporting your aging loved one. So, we do have an elder care specialist that offers confidential consultations, and we have an online form that you can submit and just let her know what types of questions you have, what your need is. She'll reach out to you, schedule an appointment, and then you can also reach out to her directly. Her name is Hazel Tyshan, and she works in our work-life benefits office. So if you have elder care related needs, maybe you just it's early stages of just needing extra support. Also, the great thing about her services is that your loved one can live anywhere. They don't have to live here in Kentucky. They can live in Kentucky on the other side of Kentucky. They can live somewhere else in another state. So as long as you are a UK employee, you can connect with her and she can assist you in locating resources to support your loved one. And she also has a listserv that you can join, and she produces a newsletter and a blog every month. And the blog is always talking about some type of elder care or aging related topic. And so we also have paid elder care leave for 2 weeks, and that can be taken in 15-minute increments. So a lot more information on our website. And I also wanted to just kind of mention the financial support part because we are talking about finances, talking about funding for college. There's a lot of financial support as far as benefits go here at the university as well. So we have a partnership with Cap Trust Advisors. These are financial advisors that can talk to you about saving for a variety of needs, including college. And of course, if you use the flexible spending account option, that's another way that you can save a bit. And then we have a crisis program that's for emergency financial support. So if you had some sort of a financial hardship that kind of came upon you and you're trying to figure out how to pay for it, or um, there's a crisis program, you have to submit an application. There's a committee that makes the final decisions on awarding funds or not. And you don't have to pay those funds back either. Also, as a UK employee, you can pay into the crisis program. So you can donate to that program monthly or annually, as well as if you find yourself in need. And then we have employee discount webpage where we have a lot of businesses and organizations that offer discounts to UK employees. So if you, for example, needed to get new tires, you might want to go and check out who's offering discounts specifically to UK employees on that page. And so there's a whole lot of categories. So I encourage you to check that website out. And we also have a variety of other things. So, but I'm going to go ahead and transition because I know we're kind of running short on time at this point. But if you guys have additional questions about like any of these categories, these caregivers or financial benefits, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to talk you through it. So as we wrap up, feel free to put your questions in the chat. And I see a few questions here. Let me read one. It says, not sure if anyone here can speak to this, but if my eighth grader is taking high school classes, English 1 and Algebra 2, do they get keys money for taking those classes in middle school? I don't know if anyone has an answer for that. If you do,
Azetta, and I see the name, I'll follow up with you. I'll confirm with Kia on that question, just to confirm. But if it's on the high school transcript, I would think it would, but I want to confirm that. So I'll do some investigating and get back with you and let you know for sure on that question. And Azetta, I can let you know as well, if you want to follow up with folks.
sounds good. Thank you. Are there any additional questions? You guys are welcome to put them in the chat and we can take those for you. So I'll go to our speakers. Was there anything that came to mind for you guys after the fact you thought, oh gosh, I meant to mention that? If there's anything you'd like to mention, you're welcome to do that.
I will add one point. We are currently offering a $100 account bonus right now for any UK employee that opens an account with us. So to get the bonus, the promo code is KY100. So any UK employee that wants to open an account, we'll start you off with $100.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Jill. All right. Anyone else with any final comments? If not, thank you so much to our presenters, our speakers, and our attendees.
Yes, I wanted to mention something. I forgot. I'm sorry. I meant to mention that. Who commented this? Lisa Morris. Yes, with the updated policy, sponsor dependents and children of sponsor dependents will be taxable for FEP. My apologies. That had just updated in September, and I was thinking about an older policy. So yes, you were 100% right.
So FPP is considered taxable income.
Yeah, for sponsor dependents, children, and sponsor dependents. Yes.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We really, really appreciate your participation and have a wonderful day.